Welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to be working on finishing up my restoration of the 138-year-old Stanley number 28 hand plane. Last week I focused on cleaning up all of the metal components. Now it's time to go ahead and tackle the wooden base. I'm going to be using a razor blade with cambered edges as a bit of a scraper to remove some of the old varnish and leave the patina in the natural color of the wood. I don't want to use sandpaper on this because that can damage the patina of the wood, so I'm going to try to do my best to respect this piece. I'm just gently coming in here and scraping with the grain, trying to remove the varnish. Not trying to get too aggressive with this, just being nice and gentle. Using a razor blade for everything else, but for this next part I will have to use some sandpaper. What I need to do now is lap the sole of the plane. Basically I'm going to take the base and run it across a piece of 120 grit sandpaper to make sure that the base is perfectly flat. Now that I've got all of these parts cleaned and restored, I can go ahead and start putting it back together. Now I don't want to tighten these screws too hard because since they are drilled into the wood, I can really easily strip the holes out. So I got to be careful about how much I tighten. Now I thought about using wood glue and sawdust to bed this hole here, which was the most reamed out. However, I decided I don't want to potentially damage the wood inside, so I'm going to go ahead and use the toothpick trick and put a little bit of toothpick in the hole to give some traction to the screw. I just spent probably 2 minutes trying to screw this little adjuster knob on before I remembered that it's reverse threaded, so it tightens when you're screwing left instead of when you're screwing right. I'll probably have to adjust the frog forward or backward once I get the iron in. However, for right now, I'm just going to tighten it down with the frog being flush with the frame right here. Now you want to line up your chip breaker with your iron so that there's about 1 millimeter or so showing of the iron beneath the chip breaker. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. Okay, so this doesn't fit in here, so I'm going to go ahead and have to move that frog back just a little bit. And there we go. Now I just need to install this front handle. I just realized that these two screws were in the wrong holes, so I went ahead and switched them around. This original handle is made out of beech, but I don't have any beech on hand at the moment, so I'm going to use oak instead. I'm going to start by outlining the original handle onto the new one, and then I'll work from there. The beaver tail on this handle cuts back a little bit too soon for my liking. It kind of cuts into my hand here, and even if it was complete without being broken off, it would be a little bit small. So I'm going to go ahead and extend the drawing on this piece here by measuring against my hand. So I'll go ahead and start the beaver tail right there. After fiddling with it for a while, this is pretty much the design that I've decided on, so I'm going to go ahead and use the coping saw to cut it out. The one thing that's going to be difficult about recreating this handle is matching the angle of the hole that the detention pin sits into. So I have a solution for that. I'm going to go ahead and screw this in. And then I'm going to go ahead and match up the side here and trace it at the right angle on both sides. Now this won't be perfect, but if I drill the hole a little bit thicker than this pin here, it'll give me a little bit of wiggle room as long as I have the shoulders correct for this to lock it in place. So now what I can do is I can angle my drill press table until the drill bit lines up with the lines that I scribed on the handle. Now I'm going to relieve this area so that the head of the pin can sit in there with this Forstner bit. I've got the blade pulled all the way back so that as I run it across, it's not biting in at all. So I'll go ahead and very slowly engage the blade until it just barely takes a cut, and then I'll try to get as thin of a shaving as possible with this. Back it out just a little bit. Still takes a cut. Back it out just a little